What is TrueCrypt? TrueCrypt is able to create a virtual encrypted disk within a file and then mount it as a roll drive on your computer. TrueCrypt supports tons of advanced features, but we're only going to be going over creating an encrypted volume on a portable USB drive. This will allow you to take encrypted files on your USB drive from one computer to another. Future tutorials will cover some of the more advanced features like encrypting your entire hard drive. TrueCrypt supports Windows from Windows 2000 through Windows 7, and supports Mac from OS X 10.4 on to the current version. Let's download and install TrueCrypt. Open a web browser like Internet Explorer. In the address bar, type truecrypt.org. That's truecrypt.org, and then press enter. There will also be a link placed in the description. On the TrueCrypt homepage, click the Downloads link. Now let's look under the section labeled Latest Stable Version. It shows the latest stable version number after this, which in this case is 7.18. There are 3 different download links for the Windows, Mac, and Linux versions. This system is Windows 7 Home Premium, 64-bit edition, so I'll click the download button under Windows. On the download information bar, click the Run button. This will download the file and then automatically start the installer. The TrueCrypt setup window will open on the license agreement screen. Read the license agreement. Click to select I accept the license terms, and then click the Next button. On the Wizard Mode screen, you have 2 ways to install TrueCrypt. If you install TrueCrypt using the Install option, it will install to your Program Files folder just like any other application. That would mean that for any other computer to access the encrypted data on this USB drive, you would also need to install TrueCrypt on that computer. The second option is to install TrueCrypt in Extract mode. Instead of installing TrueCrypt as normal, this option allows you to extract all the files to any folder you want. You can then simply go to that folder and run the TrueCrypt.exe located there. This is installing TrueCrypt in what's called portable mode. We are creating our TrueCrypt container on a USB drive that we will be taking with us from computer to computer. We're going to install this in Extract mode directly onto the USB. Every computer we go to, we can then just run TrueCrypt directly from the USB to access our encrypted data. Select the Extract Radio button, and then click the Next button. A new window will pop up with a note about portable mode. It's not completely clear from reading online, but it appears that this message basically means that when you run TrueCrypt in this mode, you need to run as administrator to properly load the drivers. Click the OK button. The Extraction Options screen will open, where we will select the location to extract or install TrueCrypt on portable mode. We want TrueCrypt to be portable on our USB drive, so we will install it there. Click the Browse button. A Browse for Folder window will open. We'll scroll to the very top of the list, and then collapse the C drive. We can now see our USB drive labeled Removable Disk E. Click to select the drive, and then click the OK button. As it's set now, it will extract all of the files directly to the root of our USB drive. This means that if we open the USB drive, all of the TrueCrypt files will be mixed in with all of our other files. I prefer to create a new folder on the USB drive where all the TrueCrypt files, including the encrypted container file, can be stored. This keeps all the encrypted files separate from the non-encrypted files that you can still copy to the root of the USB drive. To create a new folder, we need to click so that we get a blinking cursor after our drive letter. Make certain you select after the backslash. Enter a name to store all the encrypted files. I'm simply going to name this one Encrypted. This will create a new folder on the E drive called Encrypted. Now click to Z-select, open the destination location when finished. This is because I want to show you how to open TrueCrypt. Now click the Extract button. Once completed, we should get a message stating that all files have been successfully extracted. Click the OK button. After the installation, you'll get a message asking you to consider making a donation. Since we haven't used it yet, let's just pass it for now. But keep in mind that if you use the software and like it, go back to their website and make a donation. Click the Finish button. We didn't install TrueCrypt, so there's no icon on the desktop for it, and it doesn't show up in the Windows Start menu. To start the application, we need to open our USB drive. We'll click the Windows Start button, and then select Computer. Under Devices with Removable Storage, we'll double-click on our USB drive, which is labeled Removable Disk E. On the USB drive, we can see the folder we told TrueCrypt to install itself in, which in this case is Encrypted. Double-click to open this folder. We can now start the TrueCrypt application by clicking the TrueCrypt.exe file. It needs to run as administrator to run properly, so if your account isn't already in the administrators group, or you run into problems, right-click on the TrueCrypt.exe file, and then select Run it as Administrator. This is the main TrueCrypt application window. Now let's go through and create our first encrypted volume container. Click the Create Volume button. On the TrueCrypt Volume Creation Wizard screen, there are three options to choose from. The second two options here provide you with the ability to encrypt an entire partition or drive in your system. We will go over this later in a more advanced tutorial. We want to create the TrueCrypt volume so that it resides inside of a file as a container by leaving the top option of Create an Encrypted File Container selected, and then clicking the Next button. On the volume type screen, you have two available volume types to create. The bottom option listed is Hidden TrueCrypt Volume. This essentially creates a false TrueCrypt volume that if you're forced to decrypt your computer, you can use as a decoy. But using a completely different password, you can access the true data. We are just going to leave the default of Standard TrueCrypt Volume selected, and then click the Next button. The volume location screen allows us to choose the file name for our TrueCrypt container, and the drive location where the container will be stored. Under volume location, we can see a drop-down menu that is currently blank. This is because by default the option is selected to never save history. If we were to deselect this option, each time we created a new container, its file name and path would show up in the drop-down list. Click the Select File button. A Specify Path and File Name window will open. Let's select the location to save our container file. We could select the location on the hard drive, but in this tutorial, we'll be encrypting a USB drive file. In most cases, USB drives come formatted with a FAT32 file system. This allows USB drives to work with Windows, Mac, and Linux systems right out of the box. FAT32 file systems don't allow for files any larger than 4 gigabytes. If we want our container to be able to be larger than 4 gigabytes, we'll need to format the USB drive with the NTFS file system. If we do, this will only be accessible in Windows by default. If we look to the left side and scroll down under Computer, we have listed both of the internal drives as well as the removable USB drive. It already is, but if not, click to select the USB drive. To keep it cleaner, We'll be creating the encrypted container file in the same encrypted folder that contains our TrueCrypt portable installation files. Double-click to enter this directory. Now next to file name, enter a name for the encrypted container. We'll call this one encrypted file. Although you can call it whatever you like. Take special care that you don't enter the name of a file that already exists. This will not encrypt the file by entering the same name. It'll overwrite that file with an encrypted container that contains the same name but does not contain that file. Now click the Save button. Click the Next button. On the encryption options screen, we can change the encryption algorithm if we like, but we will leave it as the default of AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard, and click the Next button. The volume size screen appears. In the center of the screen, we can see that it shows that the USB drive, or E drive, has 14.89 gigabytes of free space. The number you enter here is the maximum amount of data this folder will be able to hold. You can't increase the capacity of the volume later on. Because the USB drive is FAT32, the maximum file size should be 4 gigabytes, but if we try to enter 4 and select gigabytes, it fails to create it. 4 gigabytes converted to megabytes would be 4096. It will work if we enter 4095 megabytes. In the text field, ensure that MB or megabytes is selected, and then click the Next button. We are now on the volume password screen. This is the password that is used to secure your encrypted container. The security of your encrypted container is only as good as the strength of your password. There's a good synopsis that you should read on this screen that describes good best practices for passwords. If you're going to bother encrypting your data at all, you really need to use a secure password. I completely understand that the more secure the password is, the harder it is to remember, and you'd never want to write it down. The best thing to do to get a secure password that's relatively easy to remember is to combine information that you're passionate about, together with special characters, to make a secure password. As an example, let's say you are passionate about the history of warfare. The first thing you need to do is get a few facts or pieces of information. World War I lasted from 1914 to 1918. World War II lasted from 1939 to 1945. The best passwords will contain letters that are uppercase and lowercase, as well as numbers and special characters. TrueCrypt recommends a minimum password length of 20 characters, and supports passwords that are as long as 64 characters. Keeping this information in mind, in this scenario, we could create the following password. I'm going to press Display Password. The password would be 1914-1918 WW1 ampersand 1939-1945 WW2, which you can remember as 1914 through 1918 for World War I and 1939 through 1945 for World War II. This password is 25 characters. It contains uppercase and lowercase letters, as well as numbers and special characters. It's very secure, yet easy to remember. This password uses the dates of the two wars, followed by the WW for each for World War, where the first is capitalized and the second is lowercase, and they're joined together with an ampersand for the special character. This is long and secure, but you should be able to remember it. Hopefully this will help you create a secure password of your own that you can remember. Once we've chosen our password, we need to enter it in both the password and the confirm fields. If you want, you can click the Display Password button as I've done so that you can visually confirm that the two passwords match. Click the Next button. On the volume format screen, you want to move your mouse around the screen in random patterns for at least 30 seconds. The longer you do this, the more secure the password will be. It's used to significantly increase the encryption strength of the volume keys we are about to create. Ensure that the file system selection is FAT, with a selection of default for the cluster option, and then click the Format button. The time it takes to create this container will vary depending on its size and the specs of your computer. As it scans and creates the new container, it will display the percentage complete next to Done, the speed at which it's processing the file next to Speed, and the estimated time to completion next to Left. Once complete, you should get a message stating that the volume has been successfully created. Click the OK button. On the Volume Created screen, you will have the option to create another volume by clicking the Next button. We're just going to create a single volume for now, so we'll click the Exit button. With a volume successfully created, it will bring us back to the TrueCrypt application window. Up until this point, we have just created the encrypted container file on our USB drive. The TrueCrypt application is open at this point, but if it wasn't, you can restart it from the USB drive. To be able to access our encrypted TrueCrypt container file, we need to mount the volume to a virtual drive and then enter our password. The pane at the top lists all the unused drive letters in the system. You can select whichever drive letter you like, but for this tutorial, we're going to scroll down and click to select the Z drive. Upon clicking on the drive letter, it will highlight it in blue. Whatever drive letter we choose is the virtual drive to which the TrueCrypt container volume will be mounted. We now need to browse to and select our TrueCrypt container. Click the Select File button. The Select the TrueCrypt volume window will open. On the left side of the window, under Computer, we may need to scroll down a little bit. We will click on the USB drive, which is removable disk E, if it wasn't already selected. Then double-click on the encrypted folder. Here we can see the TrueCrypt container file we created earlier, called Encrypted File. Click to select the file, and then click the Open button. The Select the TrueCrypt volume window will close out to the main TrueCrypt window. Now at the bottom of the window in the Volume section, the path to the TrueCrypt container file shows up in the drop-down menu. As long as everything looks correct, click the Mount button. The Enter Password window will open. Let's enter the password that we created previously for this TrueCrypt container. We'll click to select Display Password and ensure that the proper password is entered, and then click the OK button. As long as the password was entered correctly, the volume will be mounted. If we look in the application window, we can now see that we have our TrueCrypt container file located at E, encrypted, mounted to the Z drive. Its size is 4 GB, and the encryption algorithm used is AES. We can now access this new volume like any other Windows drive. Click on the Windows Start button, and then select Computer. Now if we look again under Devices and Removable Storage, we will see our USB drive, removable disk E. If we open this, we have our encrypted volume here, but we can also continue to write unencrypted files and folders here. They just won't be encrypted. Let's back up. If we look under hard disk drives, we will notice that there are now 3 listed. One of the drives listed is the new Z drive. This is the encrypted TrueCrypt container mounted to our system. Let's double-click to open it. Currently there's no files in there, so let's create a test file. Now we can copy files to and from this as we like, but this is a portable drive, so at some point we'll want to take it out and move it to a new computer. If at this point we just click the exit button, our encrypted Z drive would still remain accessible as long as the USB drive was in our system, because it would still be mounted. It's a good habit, once you're done, to first click the dismount button, and then click the exit button. We can now safely eject the USB drive and remove it from this computer. Now that we have our USB drive set up, we can bring this to any Windows computer and follow the same steps to mount the volume and access our encrypted files. I'm going to quickly go through these steps again so you can see all you're going to have to do when you go to a new computer. You should now have the necessary information to have TrueCrypt installed in portable mode on a USB drive, have an encrypted volume created, and know how to access it securely for multiple systems. As long as you pick the secure password, you don't have to worry about anyone stealing your data, even if you lose the USB drive.